Not only can you not find new A players to build your team, but you could actually lose your A players either because they realize they can look around and they could leave you, go down the street to make another $5 an hour or whatever. And for some people, that's just a game changer for them, right? So, or they might be getting poached.
Hello and welcome to the Remarkable CEO Podcast, a show dedicated to chiropractors who want to transform their job into a business so that they can have a remarkable practice as part of a remarkable life, not instead of one. With your hosts, Dr. Pete Camiolo and Dr. Stephen Franson.
Welcome to another episode of the Remarkable CEO Podcast. I'm Dr. Pete Camiolo.
And I'm Dr. Stephen Franson.
We're thrilled to be with you here today. If you are a new listener to our program or this show, welcome to the CEO Podcast. We're all about, just like we said, turning owner-operators into CEOs and helping CEOs become more remarkable CEOs, turning that job into a business, not only a business, but a business that's remarkable, which means it's scalable, it's durable, it's transferable. We take you through the 4 seasons of the chiropractor's journey, from launching to building to scaling to exiting. Hey, listen, that's the journey, and we're here with you. We want to journey with you through all 4 seasons. We love this podcast because we dig deep into the season 3. Particularly on this episode, we're going to be digging into the team element, specifically the journey of your team. And I don't know about you, Doc, but Dr. Stephen, I know for me, been talking to a lot of CEOs recently about finding and then also keeping A players. And that has been a challenge as of late. And not just finding doctors. I know we've talked about associate doctors, but even just finding team members these days has been a real challenge. So we're going to talk today about not only how to attract and then convert A players, but also how to keep A players, and really what does it look like to build that career within a chiropractic practice like your own. As CEOs, that's the way we should be approaching this. So we're going to have a conversation about that today, Doc. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, I'm just fresh off of the heels of a phenomenal weekend out in Santa Fe. We were out in Albuquerque and Santa Fe out in New Mexico at the Ultimate Achievers Club, which is just an awesome mastermind, chiropractics mastermind. And it's just so honored to be I'm on the board of that group, and just mixing in with just some of the top chiropractors in the world. So many phenomenal conversations, and most of them end up right here. Starting, you're talking about team, so whether you're talking about, your front desk CAs or your business office people or your marketing people or your associate doctors or their role as a CEO and the owner and their office manager or COO, chief operations officer. I mean, these conversations, almost everything almost boils down to team, Dr. Pete, which is why we're inspired to have this conversation today, because, we're looking at this very interesting dynamic that we're coming out of the last 12 months, which we're in right now, and promises to shift and change in the future, right? And it's the availability of A players in the marketplace. So we're coming out of like the last 12 months have been arguably the most challenging, most difficult hiring environment in history. It's unprecedented to have this difficult of a time finding A players and great people who are available to work, who want to work, who are responding to ads, etc. Right? So in a challenging hiring environment like that, where the demand for A players is so high, you're exposed, right? So you're exposed. So you could lose A players. It's like a compounding problem. Not only can you not find new A players to build your team, but you could actually lose your A players either because they realize they can look around and they could leave you, go down the street to make another $5 an hour or whatever. And for some people, that's just a game changer for them, right? So, or they might be getting poached by another organization that's actually out on the lookout for people like that and offering them just a better opportunity and a runway to a better future for them, right? So today's conversation is going to be like, wow, let's make sure that we don't have that level of exposure in our practices, and share best practices around how to set your team up for success, set your business up for success by giving those A players a clear view, like a runway towards a successful career path in your practice. Dr. Pete, they say that hiring the wrong person will cost you 3 times their salary a year, and losing the right person will cost you 5 times their salary.
So one of the things that, and that's just a painful statistic to hear once again, and hopefully it starts settling in for all of us, so we get this right. The big shift for me, Doc, happened when, in practice, when I realized that, and now we have language we have put towards this, which is of the perspective of the CEO. But I recognized that early on in practice, I was attracting and then hiring people that were coming and then they were going. And I realized that I had to make a mental shift, Doc. And I'm going to tell you exactly what my mental shift was right now. And it's nothing profound, but it had a profound impact on the rest of my career and all the way up to this point, which was I stopped looking to hire people for specific positions. I started looking to hire people that wanted to make a career out of working in chiropractic. And when I changed my perspective and I changed that view and I changed that conversation, it actually changed who I attracted and who we hired. And we changed the way that we were running our business. I mean, everything really changed when we started attracting and then hiring people that were actually looking to make a career move and make a career out of being in our office, actually working in a chiropractic business. And that's when I started to see, my business truly transform. And that's what is possible, I believe, for all of us. And as you talked about the change that has happened in the last 12 months and what's coming, and we've talked about this actually in previous modules. But the first thing I want to challenge all of you to right now is to shift the perspective, very simple adjustment, mental adjustment that changed the game for me, which was I hire people that want to make a career out of working in this office. And that mental shift changed the game for me. I immediately started attracting and keeping people, which is actually interesting because even after selling my practice, looking back, still to this day, 2 of the people are still there. And they have a position in the career, still working in the very office, 2 people in administrative positions as CAs, still working at the office 5 years later. I still have that. And 2 of the other people still working in this industry to this day. Why? Career positions. So I started thinking about that, Dr. Stephen. And I was thinking about this as we were preparing for this podcast. Like, what was the difference? It was that from the beginning, it was clear in my mind first what I was looking for, and it became the filter with which I was willing to bring people in. Doc, it is huge.
So I'm going to open this up a little bit, Dr. Pete, because I think what you're describing there is you're shifting your mindset and creating a new possibility, right? So I think in most chiropractic practices, probably most small businesses, but let's just talk about the chiropractic practice. So many chiropractors, they hire somebody who's going to be nice, who they like, who's going to be reliable, who will hopefully show up for work regularly and do a great job for 2, 3, 4, 5 years, maybe, right? And there's a hope that maybe they'll stick around, right? So there's almost like this expectation that there'll be a great deal of turnover in your practice, right? So super people, but they're here. This is a stepping stone for them, right? In their career path and their process, right? What you're describing is the other end of the spectrum, which is, well, how about this? How about instead of expecting that they're only going to stay for 2, 3, 4 years, what have you, how about we expect that they're going to stay for a career? And what would that look like if they did, right? So how do we create an environment where they recognize that they'd be more successful with us than without us, right? So the role of the CEO. So I'm going to suggest this for the sake of this conversation, that this is an and conversation, not an or conversation. Because I think what the reality is what you're going to find is you're going to find some awesome people, truly A players who share your core values and buy into your vision story, who their time with you will be a season. It will be a stepping stone. Whereas you will, in this process, you will unearth some gems that are planning on staying with a career because you've given them a career path. You've given them an ascension plan, and they eventually will become the cornerstones of your practice.
I love that. I love that language, and I love that conversation because, if you think about just a brick and mortar model, like you're building a business or you're building a building, they always bring you to the cornerstone, right? The thing that was set, that everything else was hinged upon. I look at people that are, remodeling their houses or remodeling, and they always say, these are what they call load-bearing walls, and you cannot change those. But they have the other wall, which you can knock those ones down. We're looking for load-bearing walls. We're looking for those beams that have to stay in your practice, where we build our infrastructure around these things that can bear the load, right? They can carry that weight, and that's essentially what we're looking at doing. And I think as you transition, you become a CEO, and you step fully into that role, and you embrace it wholeheartedly, you recognize that in order for us to not only create scalability, which I think a lot of people, Dr. Stephen, I think the word scaling and scalability is generally understood, but the elusive one is the durability piece. That tends to just, I'm definitely intrigued, but man, it seems to it slips my grasp. Like, just can't take hold of it. This, a key piece. It would be impossible to truly create durability without this. And I was having some meetings this week. We were training on training and the value of training from a CEO's perspective. And my thing I just leaned heavily into is I said, listen, durability is not possible without a training culture at the foundation of your company and your organization, from here through next and ultimately. It cannot happen. And that's how I leaned in. I said, listen, so embrace this wholeheartedly, the culture of training. And A players will not tolerate an environment where they're not valued and training isn't at the center of it. So that's a key piece to this. Creating durability, it's not really possible for us to create businesses that truly are built to last unless we have those people.
I had this conversation with one of our remarkable coaches, Dr. Sebastian Bonin, truly remarkable Dr. Sebastian, on a bus ride actually in Santa Fe this weekend. We were talking about training and training the team, and I said to him that the clearest way to convey your value to another human being is to spend time with them, right? So, as a leader, as a business owner, when you have team members and employees, they notice where you spend time with them, right? So, and whether it's with your doctors or your office manager or your CAs, spending time with them training is the highest and best use of your time, energy, focus, and money, in my opinion. And I think like marketing is a distant second. So that's how critically important it is. So, when you are bringing on these A players, like you said, they demand, they require training and development, and for you to spend time with them to raise them up. So, ultimately that has to be part of the expectation. If you can't just put a career path out in front of somebody and be able to say, yeah, look, there's a lot of runway here for you. There's an ascension, you just, all you have to do is stay. And the longer you stay, the more responsibility we'll give you, and then we'll just pay you more. Right. So that, that's not the model, right? So the model is that, in this practice, the what we reward is when you add more value to the practice. You want to capture more value. In other words, you want to get paid more. We reward you adding value to the practice. In other words, as far as I'm concerned, it's take on more responsibility. Like, what responsibilities can you take on? We can train and develop you so that you're awesome at those responsibilities. Once you've proven yourself into that, we'll give you more opportunity. And with those opportunities comes taking on more responsibilities, right? So as you take on more responsibilities, you're adding more value, and therefore you can capture more value. In other words, you'll get paid more, right? So the broken model in most small businesses, especially chiropractic practices, is, whoa, look at that. You survived another 90 days. Here we are at your quarterly review. I guess it's time to give you a raise, right? So, you don't get what you want. You get what you recognize and reward, right? So if it's just, hey, just stick around and we'll give you a title and more money, that is not the way to do it. Dr. Pete, we want to make sure that this is a well-defined success pathway. And I visualize it like a staircase that a CA could climb right to the top. You take them from a front desk CA to a back office or business office CA, and you groom them for the office manager position. And then ultimately for that right person to move them into the role of COO. This is the remarkable Ascension Plan that we've got for our team members.
Yeah, we've actually got a great plan. And Doc, what I would love it if we could maybe even include we've created a graphic. It'd be awesome if our listeners could even get their eyes on that. So I'd love to add that as part of today's show. But I would like to talk about, because we always talk about the objectives of the position on the scorecard, right? Those 3 bullets. This is why this position exists. This is every role exists to do a set of functions. Those functions are designed to drive an outcome, right? That kind of conversation. So I'd love to just talk a little bit about even the graphic, which I think we can give that away. So I'm going to make sure we add that today to the show notes, so you can get that PDF. It's simple, but it's a cool graphic for you to be able to see, like you talked about the stairway. What does that journey actually, what could it be, right?
Yes.
Someone journeys through it. That's what
I think I know this is a podcast. So unless you're watching us on YouTube right now, which is awesome. I love that we've got our Tasha from our team is just doing such an awesome job with the new thumbnails on our podcast episodes. It's so great. She's done awesome. Thank you, Tasha. So you can watch us on YouTube, which we love. But we'll include this infographic, which shows an Ascension Plan for a team member to go through this sort of stepwise progression through a career. And the way you would use this is number one, it makes it easy for you, Doc, for you to get your head around is like, okay, what does this entail? And it's set up so that there's bulleted job descriptions, and each new role comes with a broadened scope of responsibility, and that's just delineated in a bulleted job description that just continues to grow in scope, right? So you can get your head around it, but also probably more importantly for you to be able to communicate it to your team. People are very visual, right? So if you can show them, like, literally, here's your pathway, right? There's a career here for you if that's something that aligns with your vision story of your life. So you can use this in communication during an interview, right? So, with that right person, you can give, people need to see a runway. They want to see a better future, with you than without you. So this would help you convey that. And it's also something that you can bring to your quarterly reviews, right? So to, excite somebody, or just for somebody to recognize that, man, there's opportunity here for you. And then also it's a place for you to create definition around what their role is, their job description. So you don't just have these wonky titles that are sort of undefined, and it means one thing to you and means one thing to them. And, that's where we get into trouble.
Yeah, I think this is huge. We go back to identity, like, what is the identity of your team member? So we hire people for very specific roles. And, this is funny because, we always talk about sports, but one of my sons just started playing football. Okay. So he's played like flag football and other things throughout the years, but now he's playing like official, like pads, helmet, the gear, like legit, like real football. Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, but what's interesting is because I'm paying a lot of attention to the coaches. I love watching coaches. There's a bunch of coaches: offensive coach, defensive coach, head coach. I forget what the other one is. Assistant coach. There's
special
maybe
teams.
4 or 5 coaches. Yeah, special team coach on the team. These are young kids, you know what I'm saying? But they have coaches. Well, one of the things they start at his age is they say, listen, you're going to play a lot of different positions. And that's the expectation that was set. So my son Christian may say, I want to play linebacker or whatever he wants to do. But you know what? He has to, the way they designed it is they say, oh, you guys are going to play in multiple positions on offense, on defense, and you're going to get to experience the game. And what's cool is that they will, over time, find a position that they fit better in, and then they ascend into that. By the time you get to, high school, not high school, typically college, definitely pro, you are clearly defined in your position. There's an ascension, essentially starting with, and you're a young kid, you go on the field, you play a lot of positions. You get a little bit older, maybe a few less positions. But as you continue developing, there's an ascension plan, and essentially it lands you in, this is your position. It's very similar in many ways in our offices, right? You bring somebody in, we have them in a very specific position, we do. But essentially they're growing into a ultimate position that they're going to end up as. When you're 12 years, you may not know, Brady probably been a running back. He could have been a receiver, could have been playing linebacker. I have no idea when he was 12 what he was doing. But by the time he reached 16 and then 19 and then definitely now, he moved into his position. He's quarterback, right? So you're moving people along the journey in your business, essentially into a position that they were created for ultimately. And you've been on that same journey. You started as an owner. You were the bottle washer. You were the chef. You were doing every part. You were the front of the house, back of the house. You were drawing up the menu. You were putting turning the lights on. You were sweeping the floors at the end of the night. You did it all. And eventually what happened, you developed and you elevated a new journey through this ascension. Each person that's coming into your team has that same opportunity to do that with your company. That should excite them. The right person, you say it's the right person. That should excite them when you share with them that vision of here's what's possible, right? These are the opportunities that this company can offer you. That's powerful. If somebody can see that, if they see the end of the runway, that's when they leave.
Yeah.
That's when they bail out. Mentally, They start checking out, and then physically they may end up getting poached, but that poaching may be them looking around, and then they're out. And if we want to avoid that from happening, we got to show the path.
So let's talk about a very specific runway, right? Let's talk about the runway from that front desk to straight up the ladder to office manager, eventually COO. So this calls for a very specific human being. So, in our experience with testing, doing cognitive testing at Chiro Matchmakers with all of these CAs, back office managers, and eventually COOs, there's a very specific cognitive profile that you'll see, which is a predictive behavioral profile. Now, what we're testing things like dominance and extroversion, pace, patience, compliance, their energy style, logic levels, right? So this is all an objective and quantifiable assessment. You're basically blood typing people, right? So the type of person, the roles that we teach in the Remarkable Practice are things like check-in CA, check-out CA, tech CA, back office CA, and then of course you've got your office manager, your COO, you got the CEO. You have different types of doctors. You've got caregivers and business builders, and all of these people show up with very specific cognitive profiles on what we call the pro scan, right? So when we're looking to, let's say, groom somebody to become the office manager, maybe even the COO one day, Dr. Pete, there's a very specific profile that they typically meet, right? So this is going to be essentially a high detail person, right? So commonly they're introverted, they're somewhere around midline on their dominance, but they're going to be high pace, high patience, right? They're going to have high conformity, right? This is the detail person, follow the systems, follow the rules, right? They're typically going to have high tenacity. That's like the gold, if you can hit that one, that's the ringing the bell, or high allegiance. That's typically what you'll see more on the logic side of the logic versus, the head versus the heart stuff. So this is just a basic profile. And that's also typically the person that makes a great checkout CA. Okay. So let's just pull it all the way back to I won't call it an entry level position, but the reality is that starting at the front desk, right? So the person that makes a great checkout CA, okay, versus a check-in CA. Check-in CAs are those big personalities, extroverts, life of the party. They're natural promoters, right? Say they start that healing energy and love at the door, helping create that, connection with the practice. We're talking about their counterpart on the other side of the desk, who is more details oriented. They tend to be more introverted, right? More, they're that person that's going to be a high compliance person. They're your compliance officer. In fact, they make sure that the pencils are all lined up, the book is right, the book is balanced at the end of the night, the schedule book is perfect, etc. Right? So this high details person is usually the person that will be a great candidate to one day move their way up the ladder we're talking about right now, which is you'd go from the front desk as a checkout CA, where you're running the front desk. We call them the boss of tomorrow, right? In charge of the schedule book. They're that compliance officer to make sure everybody follows their policies. And of course, over-the-counter collections is typically part of their role, right? So this person, once you find this person, know that you want to put a runway in front of this person, because chances are they could get bored at the front desk. So they're like, I need to get challenged. I want to grow and go, as most A players do. So give them a place to grow into, right? So the next step in this is the back office CA or business office CA, right? So they become the business office CA. They make the ascension into that role when they take on the responsibilities of running the practice. So they go from running the front desk to running the practice, which means they're in charge of the practice schedule, patient files and accounts, the business office, payroll type stuff, right? This is your back office, business office person. Again, you can hear all that high detail work, right? Now, if they continue along this career path, the next ascension for them would go from back office or business office manager to office manager. And they become the office manager once they start taking on the responsibility of running the team, right? So they go from running the front desk to running the practice to now running the team. Okay, so this is where they're in charge of HR, so development, hiring, and firing. They're in charge of the accountability chart and the actual team's schedule itself, team meetings and vital signs that run the metrics report, etc. So now you've got somebody who's an office manager. The big skill set there is the leadership component of it, right? So if you're a Traction fan, they talk about this is that type of person who is strong in accountability, right? So their leadership, their LMA style, leadership, management, and accountability. They're leading the team, they're managing the team, and they're holding the team accountable, right? So this person's so critically valuable to the practice itself. This is a big step in their ascension, taking on more responsibility, adding more value to the practice. So they should be capturing more value as the office manager. And then finally, the fourth step to this, to the top of their ascension, would be to COO when they take on the responsibility of running the business, right? So this is where they're running the operations, making sure that all SOP is followed, standing operating procedure is followed, everybody's doing the right work the right way, right? The reporting systems that we have in place and the meeting rhythms that make up what we call the COS, or the chiropractic operating system, right? So all the reporting systems and the meeting rhythms, that's the purview, that is the domain of the COO. They help the business owner run the business. So the CEO can lead the business, right? And then, of course, financials, right? The fruit, the output of the practice from the financial perspective. They're in charge of the P&L, right? So they're accountable to the P&L. So the ascension goes from checkout CA, where they're running the front desk. The next step is to the back office CA, where they're running the practice. To the next step is the office manager, where they're running the team. To the fourth and final step, which is the COO, where they're running the business.
So Doc, as we wrap this is so powerful. And I think, everybody has not only a visual, because you can get that, but also just you painted that picture so well. Is you used a couple of words I just want to just hover over for a second. One of them was you used the word if they decide, if they ascend into that position. What you got to recognize is, as you look at those four positions, is typically this ascension happens as the business grows. Okay. As the business grows, people grow with the business. You also had said earlier that, as you add more value, you can capture more value. So in other words, this person is typically a catalyst type person, meaning their energy in the business is catalyst. It's a catalyst. It's helping grow the business. And there's a natural flow to this. And so as I move into, I almost catapult into this position, because it's almost like there's a force behind this person that they elevate. They are moving, and you have to recognize this as a leader. Like, this person is moving. I must move them into this position, because otherwise you might lose them. So recognize the energy that this person is bringing, that energy is what you're paying a very close attention to as the leader, and you're moving them with that into that. So there's a catalyst. So the if is a big one for me, because if you recognize somebody settles in, let's say they ascend from the checkout day into the back office day, and they settle in there, they may never move into that office manager position. And Dr. Stephen, you've had experiences with this, right? And that's absolutely great. They may, quote unquote, settle into this position where that becomes their zone of genius, and they're there. When that checkout CA moves into back office, you are moving another person into checkout CA. That person may move from checkout CA to back office for a season to train with, into the office manager position, and ascend into that office manager position. Essentially, all those four that you just named, someone will be in that position eventually. Because as the business grows, your teams will grow, and you're going to have somebody who's a checkout CA, a back office CA, an office manager, and the COO. You may end up with all four of those positions eventually. And so recognize that this is not only the journey and the ascension path for a player, it could be the ascension path for multiple people, and each one of these positions being filled. So as you look at your now, next, and ultimate organizational and accountability grids and charts, see it this way. You have to see this way. Like each one of these positions ultimately must be fulfilled by a person. As your business grows, that will be a requirement. Smaller businesses, you got people wearing multiple hats. There's going to be some crossing over. That will happen. But eventually that role will become too big for somebody. Go back to the conversation we had about the capacity tachometer. That will become too much. And that's when you recognize we need to fill that position with a full-time person now, because its other role is requiring your full attention at this point, right?
It's
so
exactly
again,
right.
It's such an important conversation, Docs. But anyway, those were just a couple of points I just want to drive home on this conversation, because we have to be able to see the now. Where are we now? Where are we going next in the next 12 months? Where are we going ultimately in the next 3 years? And start to see through the lens of your accountability chart, the accountability grid, where we're going to end up needing to fulfill these roles. That's how we approach this as the CEOs. So again, we've given you the infographic. You'll see that here as part of the show notes here. So take that, bring that, like Dr. Stephen said, into a future team meeting, bring it into your hiring, bring it into those monthly or quarterly meetups and reviews with the appropriate people, and cast that vision. Show them the runway. Again, this is going to be our strategy. We're not only finding, but we're keeping A players. We're creating career opportunities for people so that we can truly achieve the vision, the ultimate vision that you have for your business.
Please stick around for more business insights from this week's bonus interview with our remarkable success partner, dedicated to helping you more successfully help more people. Enjoy.
All right, remarkable CEO podcast people. I am thrilled to be in the studio today with my friend Adriana from Chiro Matchmakers. And I was trying to calculate how many emails I've sent to you over the years, introducing you to different doctors who are searching for that next great team member. And you guys are amazing at helping chiropractors do that. And I'm thrilled to have you on our podcast as a guest today. And I'm glad I get to interview you today, Adriana, because I know you've done just such an amazing work with helping doctors build remarkable teams. And I know your commitment. So you are a success partner of the Remarkable Practice, and that is why you're here with me today. So again, I just want to tell you, thank you for being a part of helping our doctors help more people and taking the time today to meet with me. First thing I want to do is just have a little, meet and greet. So if you would tell our audience who you are and who you are as part of Chiro Matchmakers, maybe a little bit how you got to this point. I think it'd be awesome for people to get to know you a little bit.
Of course. First of all, thank you so much for having me. I am so excited to be a part of your podcast. At this point, I think we have exchanged hundreds and hundreds of emails. So it is amazing when we can help each other, help more people. My name is Adriana Loya. I am the Director of Placement for Chiro Matchmakers. I started as a front desk CA over 13 years ago. I completely fell in love with chiropractic and saw the benefits in myself and in my family. Then I became the office manager. And then at a point, I was running several chiropractic offices in New Mexico. And then, after a few years doing that, we opened up Chiro Matchmakers out of our own need to find the right person for the positions that we had available. And then mainly from our own pain points of losing associates, of, losing great relationships with people that we really loved and cared for, but they were just not the person for the position that we had. And so, through learning and a lot of pain, we opened up the company so that we could help more people.
I love it. And you guys are doing it. And I love that you're speaking from a place of scar tissue. You talked about the pain. And I love that your journey started, as you talked about, right at the front desk, and you ascended into the position of an office manager. Here you are managing multiple clinics and dealing with the pain points. So I love that you can relate so much with the docs who are listening to this right now. And again, I greatly appreciate the work that you do. In the Remarkable Practice, Remarkable CEO, we teach the concept of the 4 rights. You got to get the right person in the right role, doing the right work the right way. And CMM helps doctors do that. Can you share with us a little bit about, we talk about how every business exists to solve a problem for another person. And the other person for us is a chiropractor, right? Or a doctor who's an owner looking to build their team, or a doctor who's looking to join a team. Can you talk a little bit about the specific problems that you would say we solve at CMM, Chiro Matchmakers? How would you respond to that?
Yeah, so most businesses' problems are people problems, right?
Yeah.
If you don't have the right team in place, you cannot achieve the goals that you want to achieve. So our business is dedicated to helping chiropractors, either business owners that are looking to expand, grow their team, hire the right person so that they can put them in the right seat in the bus so that they can do amazing things for the company. And we also help doctors that are looking to join an established, thriving team. Maybe doctors that, they're passionate about being doctors, they want to take care of patients, but they don't really want to run a business. Or maybe they don't have the experience to run a business. So what we do is we match businesses with talent, whether it's an associate, it's a CA, an office manager, a marketing person, and we match them in a way that ensures that their relationship is going to be successful because the person is going to be naturally hardwired for the type of the job that they're going to take on that practice. And so it's amazing to see how we are actually helping those businesses solve their people problems.
It's interesting. I love the language that you use, matchmaking and connecting, the talent with the opportunity, getting the right opportunity and the right talent to come together. I think that's a really important concept. And I like to just talk about that a little bit, because I think a lot of times, as business owners, maybe we've had, maybe even like from your experience, we've had failure in that. Like we've tried to hire in the past, it just hasn't worked out. So we kind of get, disenfranchised with the whole process, and we just give up, or we just get frustrated with the whole thing. And it's like, well, what can you guys do that we don't do? Can you talk a little bit about how you do the matchmaking? Because I think that element is just one of the things that sets you guys apart, that just makes it truly a remarkable business.
Yeah, so what we do is we take a look at the practice style, practice culture, the techniques that the doctor needs to be able to do in the office when talking about matching associates. We also take a look at patient approach. We match candidates on a behavioral standpoint. So let me give you a very simple example. If a practice is looking for a doctor that is able to help them with new patient attraction, new patient conversion, maybe do marketing for them, well, that requires a very special type of person that can do really well in that type of job description. And a lot of times as business owners, we make the mistake of trying to make somebody fit into a job description that really goes against how they're naturally hardwired, and they don't do well. And we get frustrated, they get frustrated, then the relationship goes south pretty quickly. And we either end up firing them or they quit on us because they're frustrated within that position. So you need to make sure that you have a very clear job description. What are the main goals for the position? And then you need to find the person that actually matches on a behavioral standpoint so that they're not having to force themselves to do something that they're just really not comfortable with. And so our process goes in depth into what are the practice dynamics? What are the goals for this new hire? Are they going to be an associate, for a lifetime? Do they need somebody that can help them grow and expand the business? Or do they need somebody that can help them maintain the adjustments and the patients that they already have in the practice? And so we look at all of those aspects, and then we go find those people that actually fit that innately hardwired type of personality.
So what you're basically saying, if I'm listening to this and I'm, let's say a CEO and I'm an owner and I'm looking to maybe bring in some talent in the next 3 to 6 months, and you're telling me that you will actually help me understand the type of business and practice that I have so that I can clearly create and identify the role that I'm looking for, so that then you can help me find that right fit for that role. Because I think a lot of doctors maybe don't know how to even do that. Like, how do I just describe and determine what the role might be that I need? Are you saying that your organization helps us even do that part as well?
Definitely. That is a huge portion of our process. Is first, we want to understand you so that we can help you. And sometimes, like you said, business owners, they're so busy running their practices and they know that they need extra help, but they don't really know where they want to go with this. So a lot of what we do is sit down with that practice owner and really help them understand their goals in practice, even if they have an exit strategy and what they want this new person to be able to do in their practice. And then we help them find it.
Man, that's amazing. And then obviously from the talent side, thinking about the talent coming in, you talked about how 95% of our problems are people problems. And, we know that I think somewhere in the ballpark of 67% of, associate doctor relationships end badly. In other words, they fail. We want to avoid that. And I know that the track record that Chiro Matchmakers has is significantly higher than that, which is amazing. So you're saying that as a talent coming in, they also have the opportunity to assess and analyze themselves. You're able to assess the talent and say, okay, so I'm clear now on my job description and the role that I have and the functions of that role and what the outcomes are that we want that role to create. Now I can actually also have clarity on is this person the right fit for that? So it's not just about you getting clear as the owner on what it is that you need. It's also you getting clear on who it is that's coming in and seeing, do they actually fit? And that's a huge part of what you do, correct?
Yeah, 100%. And we also help the talent. We help associate doctors really understand their own practice style, their own goals, what type of practice they want to join. Because a lot of times what happens is, the associate, the talent is looking for a position and they join a practice that maybe is not the best fit for their goals in practice. And then the relationship doesn't work out. So we also do a lot of coaching and mentoring with the talent to help build them up and help them understand, okay, this is the type of practice that I want to join. And then if we have that practice, then we get them connected.
I mean, so if you're listening to this and you're the owner, I mean, this is just huge. But if you're also considering yourself as, let's say, the talent who's looking to find a right fit, it's amazing. So they, obviously you're going to want to be connected with an organization like CMM. So you're not just trying to, wing it and figure it out on your own. I mean, get connected with an organization that can actually help you find the right fit for yourself. That's huge. I mean, I know that years ago when I was hiring a bunch of associates and even years and years before that, when I was an associate, none of this even existed. It was just, you just tried to, kind of hope in a prayer that's going to work out, and that was, how a lot of us, I think, walked through it, and it wasn't pretty for many people. So, we talk a lot in this program and the Remarkable CEO podcast here about the limited resources that we have as humans and as leaders, and how, a CEO will leverage their money to buy someone else's time, energy, and focus so they can continue to grow and scale their business and carve out maybe just a little bit more time. So a lot of the owners who are listening to this are very, very busy. Like you said, they're over leveraged. They don't, the time is not on their side. I mean, they're really just trying to just grab a little bit more here and there. And so this is an issue. And so we talk a lot about leverage. So what does it look like as a business owner for myself to leverage an organization such as yours? Like what does that look like for us to do that?
It gives you so much more time freedom. Imagine needing to hire a CA or an associate and you're having to sort through hundreds of resumes, post your own ads, do your initial rounds of interviews. I mean, the doctor should spend their time doing what they do best, which is being a doctor and not being a recruiter, right? Doctors went to school to be chiropractors. A lot of them are amazing business owners and they did not go to school to be recruiters. So it is definitely something that needs to be outsourced, something that can be done by somebody else, and you can utilize your time better in other areas that are actually producing you a lot of money. And so, what we do is we take the process completely out of the doctor's hands so that they can focus on what they need to focus. And then once we have people that match all the criteria that they are looking for, then we present them to them. And then it's pretty easy for them to go through the next round of interviews and then choose who they want to hire, instead of the business owner having to do all of the groundwork and the data sifting. I mean, it's a crazy amount of time that it takes to sort through so many candidates.
And I'll speak to the loneliness. Like it feels very lonely and overwhelming and daunting to just even think about hiring. And a lot of people just say, I don't even want to worry about that. And they just settle for, well, I guess I'll just stay kind of at this stage in my practice. And,
Right.
with Chiro Matchmakers, it seems like, hey, you've got a partner now. You're not alone. Like we're on your team. You're hiring us. We're actually on your team as a recruiter. And we're not going to send you somebody unless, it fits the criteria that we've determined together. And then that enables me to know, like, hey, I can stay focusing on my current team and my current business and building that, while on the other side, your team is working on finding us the next right fit for the positions that we have available. That's just awesome. That's leverage, folks. You're speaking into our listening, Adriana. You are for sure doing that. And we love, again, that we get to be a part of helping our doctors help more people by using leverage and leveraging Chiro Matchmakers. So last question I have for you, bonus question. How do our listeners get in contact with you? What's the best way to do that?
So our website is www.chiromatchmakers.com. My name is Adriana at chiromatchmakers.com.
Awesome. All right, crew. So another incredible podcast episode and an incredible interview with Adriana from Chiro Matchmakers. You heard it said here. If you're looking to grow your team and build that remarkable team, which again, to have a remarkable business, you got to have a remarkable team. Chiro Matchmakers is here to help you. Again, we're so grateful for you being a success partner with us and being a part of our podcast and making our podcast more awesome and amazing. For all of you listeners, thank you for joining us this week. And we look forward to picking up with our next episode next week. Until then, God bless.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Remarkable CEO Podcast. Remember, what the world needs now is chiropractic, and what chiropractic needs now is more successful chiropractors. If you like this podcast, please subscribe, share with a friend, and leave us a review. And if you'd like to connect with us personally, direct message us on Facebook, LinkedIn, or Instagram. Now go and be remarkable.